Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish, and I'm the host and the founder of this program. Well, I'm so excited that each and every one of you has tuned in today. If it's your very first time, a big welcome to you. We're so excited that you've joined us. And if you've been continuing to listen to our podcast, thank you. It's because of our listeners that we've been doing this program for 10 years now. We have a variety of amazing guests that have been on our program, but we also have hosts that have joined us in the last couple of years. So make sure that you check them out at divasthatcare.com. All of our shows are available on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere you can listen to a podcast. So make sure you check them all out. Well, I'm excited. I've had a great day today. I've been doing a couple of programs of different shows here, and I always love when I have the opportunity to talk with brand new divas and welcome them to our family. These women are just absolutely extraordinary with the things that they're doing out there. And today's guest is the same. She is just amazing. I was going through her website before the program, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, we're going to have fun. She's got some great things, and I can't wait for her to share them with you. So I'm going to get it started now. Tricia Manning, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Candace. I'm so excited to join you today. This is going to be super fun.
Oh, I think so, too. As I was saying, I went through your website. I'm like, oh, my goodness, this, the things that you're doing is absolutely extraordinary. And it looks like a lot of fun, and you can really, get to know who you are. And, that's what I kind of like, getting to know who I am inside, because I do a lot of personal development. And when I see what people are doing, I'm like, oh, I love it. And with your program, it's really heart-centered. And to me, that's really important. So I wanted to talk about that today. So I'm excited. But before we dive into that part, would you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am an executive leadership coach. As you mentioned, a lot of my work is heart-centered, and there's a story behind that. I actually had a very fulfilling corporate career. I spent 25 years in corporate America. I started right out of school with a particular company and stayed with them and grew with them for those 25 years. I started entry level and moved my way up to the C-suite. So it was unique in that regard. You don't meet many people anymore that really stay with a company that long. But I had an opportunity in doing that to really grow in experiences at that organization, but also in my leadership capabilities. And so ultimately, I learned a lot about leadership, and that along with a personal health scare that I had a few years ago kind of put me on the journey to now do what I do, which is around leadership coaching, and I'm especially passionate about elevating women in leadership, and that's what I'm doing today. So I've had quite an interesting story in getting here, but I love what I do, and it's been a journey.
Well, I love that you said that you were with one organization for that many years, and that's extraordinary, because you're right. Not a lot of people do spend that much time at one place, but to be able to have developed through that and have those life experiences, I think is absolutely extraordinary.
Yes, it is unique.
So tell me, since then, your journey, you've shifted, and now you have your own business. So will you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am a leadership coach today, and so I've been at this for a few years now. After I wound down that corporate career, as many people do when they leave a career and they make some choices as to what they want to do next. I did spend some time really doing some soul searching to really make sure that I was embarking on my next chapter, doing something that I could build on the skills that I learned over the years, but also do something that really touched my heart and was my passion. So when I left my corporate role, I focused on answering two very specific questions for myself. One was, who do I want to be every day when I wake up? And the second was, how do I want to contribute? And in focusing and answering those two questions, it came to me that I wanted to take the passion that I had for leadership and leadership development over the years and really use that to serve others and to help others elevate their own leadership. I'm so inspired and engaged by smart business professionals who are managing it all personally and professionally. And I love playing the role of coach to really help them see what's possible for themselves and to achieve their goals. And so that's the business that I have today. Yeah. And it is heart-centered for a reason. Part of the reason I did leave my corporate career, I had a significant health scare at the end of 2016. I was 44 years old, and I was going for a routine medical exam, and I got news that I had two pretty significant health issues that I didn't know about. I had a hole in my heart, and I had a tumor in my chest. And
oh my goodness.
So that experience and that wake-up call, helped me kind of reprioritize things. I was still with my company. I had open heart surgery. I got on the other side of that experience and got back to work after I took some time to recover, and that's really when I made the really tough decision to wind down the career. When I did that, and it was known then in my organization that I was leaving, I had quite a few people share with me the impact that I had, and I was very humbled by them sharing that I had left a legacy and I had made a difference and I had touched them in a way that really meant a lot. And so what was ironic is that in reflecting on how I led with my heart. It was also then my heart that, put me on the new path. So that's kind of how that all came together.
Wow. That's absolutely extraordinary. It does. It's like you lead with your heart, and then you dealt with, a health crisis, and oh my goodness. Well, I do, and I love what you're doing because you are changing people's lives. No longer not just in your organization that you're a part of, but you also do one-on-one coaching and you work with groups. So do you go to these organizations, or do you find that they come to you most of the time?
So I have leveraged, and I have quite a network from, my corporate world. So I've had quite a few people that have reached out after they learned, of the shift that I made, and they've reached out. And then I also I put myself out there. I do a lot of, as you mentioned, one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of coaching with teams, but I'm also out there, given the book, I have a lot of content, and I'm able to do workshops, and I'm able to share my leadership development model that I put together around what it takes to be a successful leader in this day and age when we are dealing with, this always urgent, always on, increasing customer expectations of this world we're living in, and how leaders, it's crazy, and it's getting harder now. Obviously, we're in a very uncertain time, and so this whole idea of intentional leadership is so important, and I believe intentional leadership. So how you show up every day and how you engage others is really a defining factor for successful leaders today in this world. And so I talk about that in my book, but I also share that through workshops and seminars and Zoom calls and things like that really is an offering to leaders and their teams. And then that oftentimes allows me to then continue work with them in a one-on-one coaching capacity.
Oh, I love that. And for any of our listeners, just to let you know, Trisha's got this amazing thing on her website. It's an assessment where it will show you what your heart leader, your score would be. So it talks about act, model, connect, and champion. Can you share a little bit about that? And then I want to talk about your amazing book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I did, over the years, obviously 25 years in various leadership positions at the same company, I had an opportunity to observe good leadership and maybe not so good leadership. And early on, I really started to formulate some of those values and some of those principles, but it was through observation. It was through trial and error in some cases. It was through that intentional style of where I was really, connecting with the hearts and minds of my people. So I had a lot of learning that I put together in a leadership model. And the whole idea is that we as leaders have an opportunity to show up with presence, and not just the way that you would expect, when we think of a leader, oh yeah, they have presence, they walk into a room and they command a room, or they're able to speak in front of a large audience and they're very articulate. Not just presence that way, but presence in how they're acting on behalf of others and how they're modeling behaviors for others. So a leader having presence and showing up that way is important. Plus, being present, so how they engage and how they're mindfully present, so how they're being mindful of how they're championing their teams and how they're connecting and creating connections among others. So how they show up plus how they engage really defines an intentional leader and a leader with heart. And so I put together this model that talks about what it means to be an intentional leader. And I talk about let's talk about where you are in your journey from being maybe a passive leader to an intentional leader. And then I developed an assessment so that anyone can come onto my website and take this heart leader assessment and get a heart leader score that will let them know where they stand, on that timeline or that continuum of being an intentional leader. And you get your score, and maybe you are proceed with caution. So maybe you need a little help because some of your own self-needs are driving your personal leadership style. Maybe you score, a little higher, and you're in the what I call gaining traction bucket. So you have more of a balanced leadership style, but maybe you're more reserved in showing care and compassion at work. Or, if you can take this heart leader score and you can score higher and maybe you're further along on your journey of becoming an intentional leader or heart leader, and that I call smooth sailing. So you're well on your way to mastering what it means to be a heart leader. You have good instincts and you're engaging people personally. And so the assessment really will help you determine where you are on that continuum, and some really quick things and immediate steps that you can take to become more intentional in engaging the hearts and minds of your people.
That's awesome. I think that everybody should take that, because you don't just have to use it in your work life. Like, this is fantastic to use in your personal lives. So I'm going to be posting that for sure on social media, because I think everybody should just have fun and take it. See where you're at and have fun with it, right? All right, girl. I want to talk about this book that you wrote. Oh, my goodness. Lead with Heart and Leave a Legacy. Wow. Why did you decide to write this book, and tell us all about it?
Well, the book came after I wound down that 25-year corporate career. And as I mentioned, I had been at that organization and elevated myself to reporting directly to the CEO. I was in a global role. And I had a team of over 400 people reporting to me when I left that organization. And it was a really hard decision to leave, but the health scare really kind of woke me up to, hey, there's a next chapter, there's something next for you. And I made that really, really tough decision. I had to, I was at a crossroads, and I had to face those fears and really take that leap. And when I announced that I was leaving, I did have an outpouring, and again, I'm very humbled by this, that so many people that I had touched over the years who had shared how I had made a difference in their life. And so when I left that world, and I took a couple months to detox, and like I said, answer those two very specific questions. Who do I want to be every day when I wake up? And how do I want to contribute? It came to me that I had an opportunity to really put into a book my leadership lessons from the 25-year corporate career, put into practice and put into print this leadership development model. And also in the book, I talk about that actual transition from that old world, that corporate world, to redefining success for myself in the new world. So it was really something that I was inspired to do, going through that transition and getting, the feedback when I made the decision to leave my company. And so I was known as Leading with Heart. I believe that you can bring emotion to the workplace in the form of care and concern for your people, and it's not a weakness, which so many leaders believe. And in doing that, you can leave a legacy in whatever you're doing. And so that's what the book is about, Lead with Heart and Leave a Legacy. I show you ways to do that. I use storytelling from my corporate career. I introduced the model, the leadership development model, and it's really a quick read, but practical and actionable.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you for writing that, because I truly believe in what you're saying. I think you can lead an amazing organization, an amazing business with your heart, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger, I think, and to have somebody that's wrote about that is wonderful. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And yes, we've all experienced, I'm sure, in our careers in some way, shape, or form, we've probably all had bosses that haven't, made that connection with us, or we haven't with them. And in today's world, and again, I mentioned, this volatile, uncertain world that we're living in, so many of us want to have meaningful connections, and we want meaning in our work. And one way that leaders can help, contribute to that is by making those meaningful connections with their people, showing that they care, listening to them, showing an interest in them, acknowledging them, not just leaders that aren't just focused on the business results. You need to be focused on the people. You need to be focused on, the how are you leading? And that makes the biggest difference in this world today. And it's a way to retain your employees and engage your employees and just create an environment that we all really want to be in every day.
That's exactly it, because happy people are more productive.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Well, Tricia, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they want to, purchase a book, if they want to get a hold of you to work with you, if they want to check out anything that you're doing? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is to visit my website. I have all the information there around my services, around my book, and also the assessment, which is a free assessment. It'll take less than 15 minutes. That website is TriciaManning.com. So Tricia, Tricia, Manning, MANNING.com. That's the best way to reach me, and you have all my contact information on there. And I would love to, hear from people and what they think. And so I'm constantly learning myself. I do believe that another characteristic of a successful leader in this ever-changing speed of change world that we live in is continuous learning. Yes, and so I'm always I always love feedback, and I love to connect with people and be open to learning myself. So,
well, we love that, and I hope that you become a part of our Changemakers Cafe, where you can connect with some of those amazing women in our group too, because they're like that. They want to learn and they want to connect and collaborate with amazing women like yourself. So thank you so much for that. Tricia, one last thing. Is there any last-minute things you'd love to share with our listeners, any tips, tools, things that might be happening soon for you?
So for one thing I can address, I think, and one of the things that I'm doing more so now in the spirit of service, and just given where we all are in our world today, we are all many of us, isolated at home. When we think about ourselves as leaders, we're learning how to lead effectively remotely. Leaders right now are very concerned and anxious about the productivity of their teams, and as well as the mental well-being of their teams. And the reality is that people today are spending a lot of their mental real estate on managing through this uncertainty, and also a lot of the disruption that they're experiencing, and trying to kind of get through this uncertain time. And so one thing that I would offer is that also available on my website are tips and tricks for leaders to more effectively lead through uncertain times remotely. And so what are some things that are working really well for teams or for leaders through this time? And I've shared that also on my website. And so I would say that that's becoming just a theme right now. And so if you're feeling like you're struggling keeping your teams engaged and connected, because we all are social isolating, and that's another resource for you. So I would offer that up.
That's perfect. And is that in your blog? That would probably be in your blog section?
Yes, I have some information in my blog section.
Perfect. I love that. And I'll be posting that on our social media also, so that you guys can go and check that out. Oh, my goodness, Tricia, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing with all of our listeners today on what you do, and especially with sharing your book, because I think right now, with myself, I love to do a lot of reading, and I've got a little bit more time now that I'm not driving my kids back and forth all over the place. And, why not do some binge reading instead of always just doing some binge watching? So make sure, to all of our listeners, go check out Tricia's book, because you know what? I think you're going to love it, and you can use it in all aspects of your life. And make sure that you check out her assessment, which I'm excited to do. I'm going to be doing that after our program here and seeing where I'm at. So thank you so much, Tricia. We really appreciate you being on today's show.
Thank you, Candace, for having me. It was a pleasure. Lots of fun. Thank you.
It was so much fun. I hope that you come back on our program again.
I would love that.
Awesome. You know what? And I want to thank all of our amazing listeners. We really appreciate each and every one of you. We're so grateful that you've been tuning into our program for all these years. Thank you so much. We want to do a big shout out. I hope that you guys are all safe. You are taking care of yourselves and your families and everybody around you. But also think about, doing something kind for somebody out there. There's a lot of people that are in need right now. So if you hear of anybody, make sure that you even just say hello to them, by messenger or anything like that. We want to be able to make sure that everybody's okay. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Divas That Care. You can listen to all of our programs on Spotify, iTunes, and at divasthatcare.com. And until next time, everybody, take care.